I'm glad to be here and see so many data enthusiasts. I see some new faces, even in the mask. And I'm glad to be here and thank organizers for hybrid mode, because I almost forgot how to speak to person face-to-face. Today, we are going to talk about applying data and AI to solve business problems. First of all, I want to introduce myself. I'm Nikoloz Mamisashvili, leading data scientist at Bank of Georgia. I always worked in finance industry, and with academic background, I have degree of economics, and more specifically, econometrics. And I love data and kittens. You can find me on LinkedIn, and we can talk about data and related topics. So let's go to the topic. Firstly, I want to mention some facts about data. The first attribute which comes to my mind about data is its size. 5 years ago, we entered the era of zettabytes. And zettabyte is a measure of data size. 1 zettabyte is equal to 1,000 exabytes, 1 billion terabyte, or 1 trillion gigabyte. To quantify it in other way, it would take about 181 million years to download all the data from the internet on a single machine. I wish I had all the data in my machine, but I think I won't last so many years. But the data is big, but is it useful? Well, 97% of enterprises say that data is essential for their business growth. But there is one problem. We don't use all the data. We cannot exploit all the data. The problem is that back in 2012, only 0.5% of the data was analyzed. So there is big room, a big problem, but big opportunity to use this data, because it's a resource for the world. But how can we utilize data? The key answers on this is 3 disciplines: data science, machine learning, and artificial intelligence. These disciplines are growing today, and the role of data science is increasing in terms of demand on them. And it's estimated that at 2026, the demand on data science jobs will increase by 28%. So there is really big opportunities. So we said that data is big, and the data is resource for the new era. And we all know that data is the new oil, as British mathematicians said, right? But what is AI and how it relates to data? As Andrew Ng said, one of the godfathers of AI, AI is the new electricity. And it's correct, because electricity was a big invention to accelerate industries. And also AI is a big invention. But I think there is one problem, that electricity is a substitute of the oil. Because, for example, cars, electric vehicles are changing traditional ones, right? So I would say that AI is the new internal combustion engine, because it can utilize data as a resource to create something consumable. And the internal combustion engine is utilizing oil for the energy, right? So I think data and AI are not substitutes, but they are complements. Okay, we know that data is big, it's useful, AI is important for us, but how can we apply it to our business? How to apply it to our real world solutions? Actually, it depends much on the organization, its type, its size, and the industry. But I can talk about Bank of Georgia, how we use it, and how it's structured in terms of data science in our organization. First of all, let me tell you some words about Bank of Georgia. Here are some numbers about the size of the bank. As you know, banking is one of the most developed industry in Georgia. And Bank of Georgia is one of the leaders in banking. We have more than 6,000 employees and more than $20 billion worth of assets. And our business has different directions: retail banking, business banking, Solo, which is more like VIP service to our customers, wealth management, and fintech, which is responsible for open banking programs and similar kind of things. Bank of Georgia always tried to innovate. And if we see the timeline, we can see that the first plastic card in Georgia was introduced by Bank of Georgia in 1996. Then the first ATM appeared in 98, and in 2003, SMS banking was implemented by us. And after 3 years, there was a big change in our technologies because mobile bank and internet bank was implemented in Bank of Georgia, and it was really fundamental for data science and machine learning because they are big data generators. In 2007, the first Georgian credit card was introduced by us, and then we continued evolving and development. And we were going towards AI. Today, our products are driven by data, and we are in the era of speech technologies, recommender systems, and other machine learning applications. What did it bring to us, these innovations? Actually, we had many rewards, but I can talk about this year. We had an award from Global Finance as the best consumer digital bank in Georgia, and we also had award of many other subcategories on the global scale. And in terms of data, I can say one number. This year, as of November, in our digital channels, we reached more than 100 million transactions. And it means a lot of data and a lot of resource for data scientists to create something good for our customers. So how did we do that? I think there are many reasons how did we do that, but I think one of the reasons is the organizational structure and culture itself. I want to talk about our structure of employees. We have superset of all employees, and the special part of it is Agile Universe. And in Agile Universe, we are working with Agile principles, which is really important. And the special part of Agile Universe is Data Tribe, consisting of about 70 members. And we are responsible in Data Tribe for data science, machine learning, and artificial intelligence in Bank of Georgia. Data Tribe itself consists of different squads, called squads. They are teams. And each squad is oriented to similar, is focused on some kind of problems. For example, customer-related products go to customer squad. Product-related problems go to product squad. Innovations happen in research lab, and so on. And each squad is concentrated and more effective. And the squad itself has Agile structure. And it's important. I repeat Agile because it's really important for us. Actually, I worked in a non-Agile environment, and I know the difference. Because for data scientists, it's much more efficient to be in Agile environment. Here we in each squad have Agile master who is responsible for processes and the efficiency of the processes, the product owner who is responsible for project planning and many more, and as an executor, we have different roles, including data scientist. We all together equally are creating data products. And these data products are different. In our big bank, we have different kind of problems, which is listed here, but it's not the full list. So you can see that we have traditional ones like credit risk modeling to the more modern parts like virtual assistants and recommender systems. Each one of them is interesting and driven by machine learning. So how do we solve these problems? We solve these problems heavily with machine learning, as I said. And we have all applications of machine learning. We developed more than 100 models in our tribe. And we have different kinds, supervised, unsupervised, semi-supervised learning. I want to underline this part because, as Rezo said, labeling is important in our daily life. And most of the time, data is semi-supervised, semi-labeled. So we have a big amount of data unlabeled and small amount with labels with it. So we are implementing techniques to spread that labels and augment the data. Also, we have applications of reinforcement learning. It's not as easy to implement as the others, but we have implementations of reinforcement learning in production. So for these problems, we use different kind of algorithms. And these algorithms change over time. These are all machine learning algorithms. And for each problem, we have different kind of them. For classical problems, for example, we have linear models, tree-based models, and so on. For time series, ARIMA, LSTMs, and so on. And we have two different kind of branches here. Recommender systems, which is completely individual branch because it depends heavily on the company and the requirements, which algorithms we will use. So we use classical approaches like collaborative filtering and also custom neural architectures. And we have one more branch, which we call speech technologies, which consists of two leaves, natural language processing and speech processing. And in this branch, we had the issue because we work with Georgian language, right? And Georgian language is spoken by 3 million people only in the globe, on the earth. And because of that, technological giants are not interested to invest a lot of resources in that. So we didn't have enough tools to create our traditional models on that. So we had to start from zero and create techniques to analyze human spoken language in terms of NLP and speech processing. And here is a list of the, not the full list of the models which we use for this branch. So we talked about the problems, we talked about the algorithms, but it's not enough for creating data products. The last part of our ecosystem is technologies itself. The technologies are evolving every day, but if we take a snapshot of today's data tribe technology, it looks like this. First of all, we need data, which should be stored somewhere. And for that, we use relational databases like Oracle databases, Microsoft SQL, and so on. But sometimes it's not enough, so we use Hadoop ecosystem, Hadoop distributed file system for big data storage. And when we analyze this data, sometimes we are not going to modeling direction because sometimes it's enough to communicate these results, just the insights to business stakeholders. So we use interactive dashboards for that in Power BI. And then if we start modeling, we have two superheroes here, Python and R. They are competitors of each other, but we use them both because they have their role in our ecosystem. For machine learning, we use scikit-learn, traditional framework, and also for deep learning, we are using TensorFlow and PyTorch. Sometimes our data, and most of the times recently, do not fit into memory. And we try to use, we use big data pipelines in Apache Spark, and we are scheduling these ETL processes with Apache Airflow. But after this, when we create model, we want to deploy it into production. And for real-time services, we need to create the data product as a service. For this, we are containerizing these services into Docker containers and serve it as a REST API in Fast API, Django, and so on. As I said, it's not the full list of our technologies, but it's the main part of our machine learning lifecycle. And we are now actively improving these technologies. We are going to implement now feature store and also model store like MLflow and so on. So we are growing this technological landscape. I think this was the last slide. Let me summarize. We can say that data and AI is important. And the Bank of Georgia tries hard to advance in this field. And we want to grow more, and we are hiring. We have two amazing platforms for that. For entry level, we have program called Lideratory, which is, I think, amazing opportunity for students. And there is no entry barrier for talented student. And for professionals, we have a specific portal, Jobs.G, and you can apply your resume there. We are looking for data enthusiasts and motivated people. I would love to hear some questions from you.
Thank you very much, Nikoloz. Always a pleasure having you at DataFest.
Thank you.
So yeah, let's see if we have questions. And we have the first question, please.
Thank you very much for your presentation. I have a question. So, are data scientists working with the business side very closely? For example, if you have something in your mind, let's say the speech, let's say voiced bot, you are saying that, okay, we have this idea, would you like to implement it? Or business is coming to you and saying that, hey, data scientist, can you help us to build something like cool to attract customers? So can you talk about these practices in your bank? Thank you.
Yes, thank you for the question. It's interesting. I can talk in general about that. We have stakeholders, as I said, from the business side, and there are many machine learning applications. But sometimes they have a problem which can be solved without machine learning. First of all, we prioritize the tasks which we faced in the bank, and then the top priority tasks go first. And sometimes we solve it without machine learning. For example, Reza talked about identification process, right? And he said that sometimes we don't use machine learning, and AI is just one tool in our toolkit. It applies also in our case. In Data Tribe, mostly we use machine learning, but sometimes it can be solved without it. Yes, I don't know if I answered the question.
Do we have more questions in the audience? How are the things in Zoom or in Slack? Okay, you might need some more time to digest. This has been a lot, to be honest, and it was also technical, so I believe the technical data enthusiasts also loved the stack that you are working with. But I just want to go back on what our participant just said in terms of, the cooperation between like sort of more business direction, right? So my question is about marketing and sales automation. Is this something that your department is in charge of, or this is something you would prefer to outsource? And I'm building this, like for my next question, what would be the opportunities for startups in Georgia and outside of Georgia, or whose services you might want to buy? Because you're a bank, you cannot do everything, right? For example, my understanding is that for KYC, you are outsourcing, right?
Yes, so about sales, right? So we can classify our products as banking and non-financial, non-banking products. We classify it like this. And for each direction, we have a recommender system. And it's in-house fully. We have deployed the financial recommender system, which called Next Best Offer, which detects what's the best offer for this customer at this time in terms of banking products, for example, consumer loan, credit card, or so on. And on the other side, we are developing actively now, in-house also, non-financial recommender, because we believe that person doesn't like loan itself, right? It has some requirement to buy, and then we have to help them with loan and credit. So we want to identify what our customers want and what they need with our non-financial recommender, and then apply our financial recommender on that. So we are doing it fully in-house.
Oh, okay, but still, is there an opportunity for startups and other companies like to offer their services to you?
Yes, we have several services even for Georgian fintech companies. In terms of speech technologies also, we have our own, but we are competing in that. And many others. Yeah, many others.
Thank you. That's, I think, yeah, we have one more question.
I have also one question. You mentioned regarding the semi-supervised approaches. Can you talk a little bit more about it? And also, I'm interested, you said that there is a collaborative filtering approaches. For example, I also work in the bank and also we're working on the next product to buy, let's say, project. But sometimes there are some type of the product that are just newly, existed in the market, and there is small amount of the data about it. For example, in these cases, how you get an approach, how you try to recommend, because when it's the lack of the data, it's a bit, hard to, to build a high accuracy model. So in this case, what are your approaches?
Yes, great question, and it's true. For collaborative filtering suffers from historical data, lack of historical data. That's why we are implementing hybrid methods. For example, if there is new item or new customer in our system, we're trying to find similar customer or item in our system which we have data on. And this similarity is measured not with transactions and not with the historical data, but with content-based information. So it's a mix of collaborative filtering and content-based filtering. So we can utilize that approach to do recommendations for that customers. But it's still a problem because it's not as accurate as the other ones. So yeah, we suffer from that also.
Trying to turn on my microphone, and maybe we can give me another one. Thank you. And Nikoloz, you mentioned about the Georgian language. Of course, that was part of my one of the questions I wanted to ask you. But can you just elaborate a bit more on that? Like, where is your in-house development standing in terms of the text-to-speech and the NLP in general, and how you are competing with the others? Like, because for those of you who come from English-speaking countries or like other like major sort of popular languages, that's not an issue. That problem has been solved many years ago, and now it's just being incrementally improved, right? For the Georgian language, the technology is still underdeveloped, right?
Yes.
So maybe you can elaborate a bit more on that.
Yes, actually it's a great question because it's an opportunity for us. For example, I asked Rezo the question about identification, how they compete to technological giants, because it's a standard process, right? The identification is in every country. But in our case, Georgian language is not important for Google and Facebook. For example, they have speech-to-text API, which is not free, but the quality of it is quite low because it's trained on, as we think, on public data sets like Wikipedia and news sites, and it's general language. And when we need to understand our customers, we need domain-specific corpus. That's why we are investing lots of resources in gathering this kind of corpora in terms of speech and also in terms of text, and we analyze it and create our own models, which we want to then be public and open sourced. Yeah.
All right, exciting. I think it's time to thank Nikoloz. Nikoloz, thank you so much for doing this once again. So yeah, thank you.